All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. It is 11/11/25, November 11th, 2025. It is Veterans Day, so we'd like to extend a thank you for the service of those that are veterans and who have served the country in multiple capacities. So, thank you very much for your service. Thank a veteran if you haven't, okay? Just some of the crappy things about our system that we shouldn't take it out on our veterans. Like Trump, inaugurating people into the armed services, like that shouldn't be getting booed at because you don't like the president. So I digress. Well, we have problems in our housing, okay, and how in God's green earth I escaped, I don't know. It's not absolutely official. We still got a little bit of ways to go, but it would take a space rock or a cannibal CME to kind of stop the inevitable. So we're excited about all that, but what is coming, what is going on with our economy and with our housing, I think is going to be really bad. And so a lot of the things that are stories today are about that and other things going on. So I don't know if it's just fate. I don't know if it's kind of God saying respect what I have gifted to you or whatever. I don't know. But you should pay close attention. Our economy is having major problems and it's just starting to flesh itself out. And honestly, after Christmas, I don't think things are going to be too hot and they're already pretty bad. So hopefully you checked out the PrepperNow stream from earlier called Economic Doom, talking about this very subject. And yeah, it's important. So important stuff. So all right, well, let's get started. We'll let Borg do its inorganic little numbers and stuff. We got 19 in the room, which totally makes sense on a channel with 10,600 for the 54th week in a row, something like that. Yeah. So hit the like button, do the subscribe thing. If you really want to fight back against Borg, become a member. That's a way. That way he gets money and he kind of lays off. Or honestly, I'm considering getting a dual streaming package from StreamYard. So I'll be over on Rumble too. So I want to see how that goes. I want to see what's up with all that. So maybe Borg needs a little slap across the face, a little understanding that he's not the only game in town and that there's other things that are coming along. So all I know is that right now we're in a good way as a family, happy, and let's do it. Let's check it out. All right, friends, this is your crisis report for 11/11/25, also known as Veterans Day. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. And a few other things. All right, here we go. Schumer privately fought to extend government shutdown, but failed, according to reports. Casualties reported after a blast outside district courts in Islamabad. Pakistan's interior minister says a self-harm bomber detonated his explosives near a police vehicle. Wait, I'm not sharing. Hold on. All right. Pakistan's interior minister said a self-harm bomber detonated explosives near a police vehicle outside the gate of a district court in Islamabad, killed 12, wounded 27. SoftBank sold its entire stake in NVIDIA for $5.83 billion, and NVIDIA's stock has slipped because they're saying that AI is in a bubble. Sun has erupted in an X51 solar flare. That's the strongest in 2025. Turkish military cargo plane C-130 crashed on the Georgia-Azerbaijan border, Turkey's defense ministry says. USS Ford aircraft carrier strike group has arrived in the Caribbean. Rare cannibal solar event is going to unleash widespread aurora across 22 states. Arkansas has got beautiful pictures from there of the skies. U.S. Democratic president would re-enter the Paris Agreement without hesitation, according to Gavin Newsom at COP30. Of course he's there. United Kingdom has stopped sharing some intel with the U.S. over concerns about legality of U.S. military strikes on alleged drug boats, according to CNN. 758-meter-long Hongqi Bridge has collapsed in southwest China months after opening, fully showcasing just how crappily made a lot of their stuff is. President Trump has laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery to honor Veterans Day. Google has unveiled a $6.4 billion investment in Germany. Trump says H-1B visa holders are essential because there aren't enough talented young Americans. So, hold on real quick. All right, there you go. Sorry about that. It's funny. Somebody said, go to the chat and look at it real quick. So I check every once in a while. Trump says H-1B visa holders are essential because there aren't enough talented Americans. Laura, what's her name, said, Ingram said, we have plenty of talented people here. Trump said, no, you don't. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel have submitted documents to Congress showing the Clinton Foundation accepted donations from both foreign and domestic sources seeking political influence. You knew it. You knew it. Venezuela is deploying old Russian-made weapons and getting ready to wage guerrilla warfare or create chaos if the United States launches an air or ground attack. Trump administration is reportedly exploring a plan for a 15-year car loan following its proposal for 50-year mortgages. That went over like a lead balloon. They will not be looking at either one of those. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has built an armored wall outside the presidential palace ahead of major protests. Evidently, she really is in cahoots with the drug people over there, so they love her. Yep, they love her. Quick. Colombia suspended all intelligence cooperation with the United States until Washington stops blowing up boats in the Caribbean. Caribbean Queen. President Trump says the H-1B visa program is needed because a lot of Americans don't have the same level of talent as foreigners. And this is an important one. This is about the politics of Minnesota. Somali source in Maine offers this explainer on the clan dynamics unfolding in Maine, U.S. politics. The Darude clan dominates Somali political representation in Maine. But by population, other clans have massive presence. But for some reason, the Darude love power. People including figures like Ilhan Omar, Deka Dalak, Yusuf, Omar Fatah, Safia Khalid, Abdullahi Ali are from the same subclans of Darude, the Ogaden, and Majitin. In Somalia, however, the Darude are just one of the four major clans alongside the Hawaii, Rahanweyn, and Dir without overall dominance. Somali immigrants from these other clans, particularly in Minnesota's large diaspora, have grown resentful of Darude's rising influence in U.S. politics. For instance, when Nasri Warsame, non-Darude, ran for office in Minneapolis back in 2021, Darude-aligned groups reportedly blocked him and supported an Indian-born woman instead, preferring a non-Somali over someone with a rival clan. Inter-clan rivalry has led Hawaii, Rahanweyn, and Dir members, including those from Somaliland, which flies its own flag, seeks independence from Somalia, to back non-Somali candidates. They supported Jewish incumbent Jacob Fry for mayor over a Somali opponent from a different clan, prioritizing clan loyalty over ethnic or religious solidarity. So, the purpose of this experiment called America is electing people that you think will do a good job, not because they're from the friggin' Darude clan or the Rakhine or whatever the heck it's called clans or some, backwater African tribal crap. So I don't even know where to go with that one. We're gonna move on. But that's what's going on in Somala, Minnesota. UC Berkeley is currently a war zone, and Antifa has tried to rush the barriers into tonight's TPUSA event, causing multiple problems. The crowd is getting more and more rowdy. UC Berkeley, 4 of the exits for tonight's TPUSA event were being blocked by large crowds of protesters screaming "F you fascist" as attendees leave. At some point, they're gonna get really violent and they're gonna hurt people. Mark my words. Protesters are attempting to block every exit in an attempt to intimidate attendees. Antifa protesters blocked every entrance and then began running to swarm attendees after they found out that one of the unblocked exits they were using. The murder of Charlie Kirk has emboldened the left much more than it did the right, and that is entirely to blame on the weak response, as Savannah Hernandez is saying. What response she wants, I don't know, but they're getting increasingly violent. BlackRock got scammed out of another loan, this one worth $150 million. 2 weeks ago, the world learned about BlackRock as they lent $552 million to an Indian business guy or something like that. I don't know. So now Bloomberg, and he scammed out of $500 million. Now Bloomberg has learned of another scam. Renovo Home Partners, a home improvement company doing regional kitchen and bathroom remodeling, created by private equity firm Audax Group in 2022, abruptly filed for bankruptcy last week, indicating its plans to shut down. BlackRock held the majority of Renovo's roughly $150 million of private debt, while Apollo Global Management, Inc., Midcap Financial, and Oaktree Capital Management held smaller chunks, according to people with knowledge of the matter who asked not to be identified because it's a private transaction. BlackRock assessed Renovo Home Partners' debt use this past October, and its assessment was solid rating, 100 cents of every dollar. You see one cockroach? Probably more, Jamie Dimon said in his earnings call, and he wasn't joking, warning that the private credit market has gotten so loose with underwriting that when companies start defaulting, it won't be isolated, and that's coming. Diamond's warning is validated. First Brands already failed. JP Morgan ate $170 million in Tricolor. Renovo's gone. $2.5 trillion private. Credit market is full of over-leveraged companies. Looks solid under loose underwriting standards and inflated valuations. Renovo currently won't be the last one. That's going to get worse. Japan's largest and biggest bank, SoftBank, dumped its NVIDIA stocks worth $5.83 billion. SoftBank Chief Financial Officer Yoshimitsu Goto characterized the NVIDIA sale as part of the company's broader asset monetization strategy rather than a negative view of the chip maker's prospects, blah, blah, blah. AI's in a bubble. It is. Firm requires approximately $30.5 billion in cap for fourth quarter investments, representing more funding activity than the previous 2 years combined. Massive capital requirement reflects SoftBank's determination to establish dominant positions across the artificial intelligence value chain beyond the OpenAI commitment. Company planned $6.5 billion for semiconductor firm Ampere and other strategic AI investments, through its Vision Fund platform. Asset rotation strategy allows SoftBank to maintain financial strength while pursuing aggressive investment opportunities. Translation: AI is in a bubble and they're getting out while they can. Everybody's getting out while they can. PrepperNow sold his house because I know I can. Not going to be there in a year. In a year, it's the price is going to be down. We're going to be in a crisis. It's my personal thought. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm totally wrong. I personally think in about a year or so, we're going to be in a crisis. I really do. United Kingdom has suspended some intelligence sharing with the U.S. over the Trump administration's bombing of the narco-trafficking vessels in the Caribbean Sea. UK deems illegal. The move happened because British authorities do not want to be complicit in those strikes. UK, which controls a number of territories in the Caribbean, where it bases intelligence assets, helped the U.S. locate vessels suspected of carrying drugs. The U.S. Coast Guard could interdict them. That meant the ships would be stopped, boarded, crewed, detained, and drugs seized. Intelligence was typically sent Joint Interagency Task Force South Task Force station in Florida that includes representatives from a number of partner nations and works to reduce the illicit drug trade. But shortly after the U.S. began launching lethal strikes against the boats in September, however, the UK grew concerned that the U.S. might use intelligence provided by the British to select targets. British officials believe the U.S. military strikes, which have killed 76 people, violate international law. An intelligence pause began over a month ago, they said. So this is a big one. I know it's boring. I know we're not having people sit there and get footballs to the nuts and all the other wonderful things that Reel Shorts and other crappy 12-second short-form videos are doing to destroy the minds of our youngins. But this is one of the most important things you're going to hear about in the next, I don't know, probably 72 hours, because this is exactly what's going to make the housing market crap the bed. Fannie Mae will remove minimum credit score requirements for loans submitted through through its DU system starting November 16th. This means that the current 620 minimum representative or average median credit score will be removed for new loan case files created on or after that date. Instead of applying a minimum score, DU will use its own analysis of borrower risk factors to determine loan eligibility. Get used to this word here. It's called NINJA. This is a creation of the Ninja Loan Part 2. No income, no job, a-hole. Ninja. Fannie Mae also updated requirements for documenting non-traditional credit and home buyer education. The DU system will notify lenders when they need to establish a non-traditional credit history or require home buyer education in cases where a borrower has no traditional credit or installment account on record. If you're needing to get educated before you buy a house, you shouldn't be buying a house. Let's be honest. This will make it easier for Americans with poor credit scores to become eligible for loans. Such a change, however, caused concerns among bankers who are legitimately worried that the ability of Americans to pay back the loans they can grant. This is the biggest credit crunch, crap the bed. I don't even know where to put it. This is as dumb as it gets. And these idiots are going to get mortgages and they're going to default on them en masse. It's going to be bad. Electric bill crisis, blame game has begun. Democrats are slamming data centers. GOP faults climate cult ideology. Only took politics a little over a year to catch up to the Mid-Atlantic power bill crisis theme as the battle to control the narrative over surging electricity costs intensifies. Democrats are pointing the finger to the explosion of the data center buildouts and power-hungry server racks, while conservative politicians blame disastrous green policies, specifically the early retirement of fossil fuel power generation plants and rapid rollout of unreliable solar and wind generation. Bernie Sanders, several other Democratic senators who I don't care about, sent a joint letter to Trump administration Lutnick about the fast tracking of AI infrastructure is creating a bidding war between households and trillion-dollar companies such as Meta, OpenAI, Alphabet, Oracle, and all the other piece of crap tech companies that will literally run this country into the ground. Democrats are correct. The data centers are certainly fueling the power bill crisis in the Mid-Atlantic states. However, they are never able to tell us the whole truth, of course, conveniently leaving out their climate crisis hoax led to the early retirement of fossil fuel generation plants, which has stripped the grids of now much needed spare capacity. Goldman warned this summer of price spikes and blackouts. They happen, they're going to get worse. In fact, they doubled down, blamed this mess on Trump's assault on clean energy, need a wake-up call. Intermittent green power sources do not provide stable power. Go look at Portugal and Spain this last summer. In fact, Spain's nationwide blackout. Look, see, this is why you come to me. I remember this crap. Summer was centered on the unreliable, unrenewable energy. Recent note, we cited a Goldman Sachs report by analyst Carly Davenport found higher power bill inflation has been the most pronounced in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and California in the past 3 years. Please do note, these regions and states are governed by the leftist politicians wearing climate crisis blinders. Even Bill Gates had to take off the last month. It's bad. White House is allegedly furious with Bill Pulte for advancing his stupid 50-year mortgage plan. Person near the situation said Pulte just told POTUS a bill of goods, sold him a bill of goods that wasn't necessarily accurate. FDR did it. You can do it. Going to be a big thing, but he didn't tell him about all the unintended consequences, which, let's just put it this way, on a $410,000 home, which is the average home price right now, which is disgusting, you'll pay $485,000 in usury, if I'm remembering correctly, my numbers. Over the course, that's not the, so you pay the 410, and then you pay 485 on top of that. So if you're buying a house, let's say you buy it for about $450,000, you literally pay double that over the course of 30 years. Well, guess what happens with 50? You pay triple to quadruple. So this is just a pull to get the banks going. This is stupid. Anything goes before POTUS needs to be vetted, said one person. A lot of times with Pulte, they are not. He just goes straight up to POTUS. He's going to be fired in a week. Anticipation of a major protest. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum erected tall barricades. Just go get your narco friends to protect it. Create some mass graves. Hundreds of thousands of Mexicans are expected to protest against Sheinbaum and her lack of action regarding numerous hits of local politicians across Mexico by drug cartels, which are her friends. China is now considering banning rare earth materials for the U.S. military companies. China is considering a plan to keep rare earth magnet materials from reaching U.S. military users by blocking exports to military-linked firms, while speeding approvals for civilian companies. Catherine Connolly, Ireland's new far-left president, inaugurated at an inclusive ceremony. It's so inclusive. Prayers, reflections from 11 different religions, and of course non-religious groups, including, all of them. She also warns about the dangers of climate change, which is her true God. In inauguration speech, we face existential threat of climate change and the threat of ongoing wars, both, of course, inextricably linked. China's cybersecurity agency has accused the U.S. government of orchestrating the theft of approximately $13 billion worth of Bitcoin, and 21 states in the United States are seeing the Northern Lights tonight. And that, my friends, is your crisis report. November 11th, 2025, Veterans Day. Join us on Gab Minds, Truth, Twitter, X. Subscribe to our local Substack and get a transcript. We'd love to have you on all those. We're brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. They take your 401k, IRA, put it into precious metals. Other than that, folks, the housing market's getting crazy. I feel blessed. I'm lucky to sell my house. So I'm just going to take it and try and scream it from the rooftops, wake up as many people as possible, that we are in very dire straits economically right now. There are red flags all over. And I don't know if it's 2001, 1987, 1929, 33, I don't know. But the economics of this country are not going to be able to sustain for much longer. So you need to prepare. All right, friends, God bless. We will see you on the next one. If you want to become one of the cool kids like Water Tiger Gene or Bad Bobber or Dumb Dem Policy, join us as a member. It's a couple bucks a month and keeps Borg off our backs. God bless you all. Have a wonderful night.